So again, there are some areas. Campsville, if it survives that long, it'll be 438. But Great Bridge, you're in the sights of this, or just north of Great Bridge. Certainly Grassfield. You should be taking every precaution coming up right now for your area. Again, and here's where we are toward number 10 lane.
Ditch Road. That's Drumcastle Lane as well, Checker Spot Way. Sorry, I got a little better view here of the street roads here, Don, because my face is two inches from the screen here. Chesterfield Loop, Deer Crossing, Scenic Parkway, and Grassfield. Now it's time to get into that safe spot, get away from the windows, the lowest level of your home, again, away from the windows. The area of rotation that is potentially producing a tornado is crossing the George Washington Highway, and that's going right into the 17 corridor, number 10 lane, that's Scenic Parkway in Grassfield. Headed right through there, and it eventually is going to get out towards the Bells Mill area, Country Club Boulevard in Bells Mill. We've got
highly populated areas, obviously, through here, as you can see again, see all the roads going on there.
Something that I like to point out sometimes, Steve and Don, is that, you know, obviously if they're watching us, they're watching TV, but a lot of people probably are not. And if you have family or friends down this area, send them a text or give them a phone call. If you know they live in some of these roads we're calling out, maybe they're sleeping, maybe they're just watching something else or doing something else. So give them a phone call, say, hey, heads up, did you know there's a possible tornado heading towards Great Bridge? And that's one way that you can help us alert people ahead of this storm as it moves off towards the east.
Yeah, it's right on in over the Grassfield area any second here. It's 407. We were earlier predicting that it would be 409. Well, I think it's moving in on you right now. So again, in the next couple of minutes, Grassfield area, again, really going to get socked by this. Obviously, lots and lots of people here. Not so many people here. Was out of the Great Dismal Swamp as it moves generally east-northeastward at about 35 miles an hour. And it's not showing huge winds. It's showing 40, 45 mile an hour winds, but there's rotation there. So there could be a very, very tiny area where we could indeed see a tornado out of this. So again, we'll want to watch for this real carefully. Into the Grassfield area, again, as it lifts east-northeastward toward Grassfield. Great Bridge should be in there as well. Great Bridge, you're going to want to watch out for that. Essex Meadows, some of these areas, again, there is Great Bridge. You're going to be real close to that. It could be just north of your area, but very close by. What is it? Bells Mill, Oak Grove, so highly populated areas, densely populated areas. This area right on into here, moving east-northeastward at about 25 miles an hour. There is Deep Creek to give you a point of view, and there is Grassfield to give you an idea where things are right now. And again, the possible tornadoes located right on into here and moving east-northeastward at about 25, 30 miles an hour. Again, probably a little bit more south of those arrows. I think it's probably even just north of, the direction not quite as northeast, a little bit more east-northeast in terms of its direction of movement, so perhaps a little bit more like this toward about Oak Grove, because the direction that thing has been moving now over the past half an hour or so.
Kind of wobbling a little bit, Don.
Yeah.
It's going to be drifting a little bit this way. So Great Bridge, Oak Grove. I mean, downstream, I mean, you got 168. That's a huge corridor, highly populated area. Downstream, of course, is the Greenbrier area. All right, so we're just getting into more and more of a populated area here. And this thing, it has held together. So, I mean, I haven't seen it weaken, that much. So good indications that this thing is going to hold together here over the next 30
and this is a fresh
minutes.
scan. This is a fresh scan here. It's looking just as strong, if not stronger now, in this fresh scan in terms of what we're looking at for this storm and its movement again to the northeast to east-northeast at about 25 miles an hour. So again, that tornado warning in effect for Chesapeake now until 4:30 in the afternoon, and Grassfield, it's about over the top of you or the south edge of Grassfield. And again, that's lifting east-northeastward at about 25 miles an hour. If we could widen it out, maybe just show the movement over the past half hour, give us an idea of where this thing is going and how strong targets going. Widen the picture out just a little bit and slow it. There we are. Again, generally east-northeastward. Again, there we can see as we just kind of the scrubber bar, taking the scrubber bar to it, just kind of slowly going through it. Again, it's just moved on through Route 17 back into populated areas off the Great Dismal Swamp. There's George Washington Highway, Route 17, go southward toward Elizabeth City, and right on into here again toward the Grassfield area. That's where we're likely seeing the worst of it. Yeah, there is an area down here, certainly not as bad. Steve Fondero just pointed that out, that has a little bit of circulation as well. Watching out for that. There are areas of wind that we're seeing up into here. It looks to be what, toward Norfolk? Well, no, actually that's in 464 meeting 64. There's Norfolk on up into here. So again, those are some areas where that has some circulation with it too. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a closer look at that to show you what's going on those areas. That does appear to have some circulation, as does this into Norfolk. So toward Kempsville and Davis Corners. Kempsville, obviously highly populated. There could be some strong winds going on into there, some localized strong winds out of those areas. You'll note kind of a little bit of a curlicue shape to some of this action moving on through. But this is the biggest area right there where we're seeing the red and the green in close conjunction and really, really definitely hitting the Grassfield area right now, or it has been hitting the Grassfield area here in the past 5-10 minutes. On down toward some of these roads that we've got. Are we seeing any debris? Nothing definite. Let's. Can we set the debris CC into motion a little bit? See if we can see anything, any kind of pattern there. Not really. What we're looking at here is we're looking for a pattern, some kind of a little cluster going on where it's picked up debris, leaves, and junk out of it. No, we're not seeing that going out of it. Let's go back to velocity, and again, that's the biggest thing that we can see in terms of wind going on. Moving eastward out of the Grassfield area now.
Bells Mills is up next.
Yeah, Bells Mill.
165 corridor there. Bells Mill Road, Country Club Boulevard, Waters Road. Listen out some roads here just in the Bells Mill area.
Yeah, this is Route 17 right there.
Yep, 17's right there. 17 meets 165. Eagle Point Way, you're living in that neighborhood. Chalet Road, Washington Drive. Shillelagh.
Oscar Smith High School down that area as well. Another area to kind of be aware of as this is pushing up your direction. South of 464 interchange, Steel Bridge, Great Bridge area, obviously, has been pointing out. And if we could take Max 2 for a second, I want to point out, this storm's had a history of rotation as it moved across the swamp, and you can kind of see it. It really started back in Suffolk and now has made its way all the way into parts of Chesapeake. And now as we start to watch this moving into a bigger populated area, that's where our concern really starts to kind of get heightened on as this moves into these heavier populated areas. Yeah,
areas near Great Bridge and really Grassfield and Deep Creek as well. You can see the movement again of this storm generally east-northeastward on up toward the Great Bridge area. On radar, regular radar, it's got heavy rainfall, but there's nothing real definite about it in terms of seeing rotation on the radar part of it. In terms of the rainfall part of it, certainly some heavy rain going on, and farther south some heavy rain toward the Chesapeake Airport and Cornland, the Ballahack Road area. But once we get on to seeing what's going on in terms of velocity, yeah, we've definitely got some problems there going on where green meets red into the Grassfield area. We're seeing, again, the probability of, again, some really strong winds, if not now tornado.
And that's the problem. You mentioned the rain with this. It's if there's a tornado with this, it's likely a rain-wrapped tornado. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to go outside and see if I can see this thing, you're not going to see anything. All you're going to see is a big wall of water coming at you before the strong gusty winds start knocking down
looks even
trees.
worse than this scan just came out.
New scan that just came in here and just south of Bells Mill Road. And remember, radar beams are a couple thousand feet up, so this could be maybe a street or two over from where this actually is. So while we're calling out these specific roads, if you are familiar with any of these roads around you, it's time to seek shelter. Don't just think we're going to pinpoint this exactly down to your street. It may be just a couple streets over, because sometimes radar can be off a little bit. So anywhere in this area is where you're going to be wanting to seek shelter. Bell's Mill especially.
Yep. There's Great Bridge right into here as well. So again, right on through these areas, right on into here is where we're going to really see some problems. Bell's Mill, there's Battlefield Boulevard. I mean, highly trafficked area on up Greystone Lane. I'm not sure what that road is right there, but that's got to be a main road as well.
That is the Chesapeake Turnpike.
It is the Chesapeake Turnpike. Okay, it is a main road.
Or Centerville Turnpike, excuse me.
Centerville Turnpike. So again, there's Elbow Road right on into here. There's Essex Meadows. So again, these areas, there's Chesapeake Expressway north of 64 right here. So again, these areas highly trafficked and highly populated areas. Do not leave the house. It's not the time to go driving. And if you're at work or doing something else and you're away from this area, or even if you're in this area, do not move. Sit tight. There's heavy rainfall. And again, this is really a dynamic situation where we are seeing, again, this tornado warning and a real strong indicator of a tornado right on down into here. Just moved eastward from Grassfield. It's likely into the Great Bridge area, just north of Great Bridge area, the neighborhood right into here called Bell's Mill. That particular area, again, we're going to see some problems there. Likely some downed trees and power lines, at least, if not an out-and-out tornado out of this area. Oak Grove area, highly populated. It's about over Bell's Mill right now. Again, moving east-northeastward at about 25 miles an hour. So again, this particular area is likely to produce some damaging winds, if not a small tornado. And usually I'd say short-lived tornado, but no, this has been around for a while. It's survived. It started in eastern Suffolk, went all the way across the Great Dismal Swamp, came through the Great Dismal Swamp, of course, near the Grassfield area, and now here we are toward Oak Grove, looking at some problems there, quite likely in the near future, if not already. And you can see what Battlefield Boulevard right through here, highly traveled area, highly populated area. Again, we can see some serious problems. Stay home, know where the kids are, know where your family is, and make sure that they know about this and know to get in the center part of their house.
I'll give you some locations. This could be near the Chesapeake Arboretum, the Greenbrier Christian Academy, Chesapeake Pediatrics over off Clearfield Avenue, Kempsville Road area. There's an American Legion post down in that region near Oak Grove. The Great Bridge locks are not too far from where this is located, just towards Bell's Mill as well. So if you're watching us anywhere near River Oak Church, Center Point Community Church, let's find some other spots in here. The Chesapeake Regional Medical Center, a little bit further up the road here, but that's in the general vicinity. Also, areas off towards the east include Greenbrier KinderCare. There's a park, Chesapeake City Park, not too far from this area, and the Green Tree Road area along Kempsville Road. So any of these areas, those are the spots where if you heard me call out your location, if you are familiar with any of those neighborhoods, you want to be seeking shelter. As we've kind of said before, that's going to be the lowest level of your house, centermost part of your house. Cover yourself with blankets or a mattress or pillows or a bicycle, motorcycle helmet, a football helmet. A lot of kids have that bike helmet, learning how to ride a bike. Throw it on. It protects your head when you're out learning how to ride a bike. Same thing in the event of strong winds and strong types of severe weather. If the tornado lofts anything through the air and it goes flying through the air, it'll protect you if it were to hit you in the head. But that's the key. And a lot of times when you go to these safe places, you may be further away from your TV. So go ahead and turn that volume up on your TV or tune over to WAVY.com. We are live streaming there. If you're watching us, though, on Hulu or like YouTube TV or something like that, and we're saying the tornado is over Oak Grove, got to keep in mind, these streaming services have a little bit of a delay on them. It can be anywhere between around a minute to almost 2 minutes of a delay. So while we're giving you these estimated times of arrivals and we're saying the tornado is located towards Great Bridge, that's as I speak. And by the time it hits you, it's about a minute or two delayed. So you want to make sure you're seeking shelter ahead of this storm as it makes its way up to the north and east, and not waiting for us to say it's right over your neighborhood right now, because that's when it's too late to seek shelter. Great Bridge, just literally seconds before it moves into your area. Oak Grove, about a minute or so, less than that now. Greenbrier Christian Academy, 422. Glenwood area, 435. And we've got Salem Middle School further up to the north and east. That's going to be about 436, about 15 minutes before it reaches Salem Middle School. So now is the time, if you're watching us from the Acredale area, the Glenwood area, to go ahead and think, where's my safe spot? Lowest floor, interior room, hallway, bathroom, closet? Maybe I should go get into that and seek shelter as the storm advances up to the north and east. Giving you a reset here real quick of everything. If you're watching us from the eastern shore and you're saying, hey, what about us? Well, yeah, it's stormy, it's probably loud, it's heavy rain coming down there. Nothing severe, though, across Northampton County. We're likely going to see some gusty winds with this, perhaps some wind gusts, some of the brighter colors up to around 40 or 50 miles per hour, and that's enough to down some trees, but we're not seeing the threat of a tornado right now on the eastern shore. But still, some strong winds, some lightning. You want to make sure you're indoors. If you're watching us from Virginia Beach and you got the alert on your phone, you haven't been hearing us talk a whole lot about Virginia Beach because the storm is currently over Great Bridge in Chesapeake and not over your area yet. However, it's moving that direction. So if this storm maintains its strength, eventually we're going to be talking about areas towards Lansdowne, eventually all the way up over into the southern portion of Virginia Beach. Here's where 264 runs. Kind of south of there would be our primary area of concern. Kind of near NES Oceana, too, would be a spot we're going to have to watch carefully as this storm moves off towards the east. So switching back to the velocity product, seeing what we have in terms of rotation with this, still, right over Oak Grove is where there's likely some spin in the atmosphere. We switched the correlation coefficient product to see if there's any debris, and still not seeing anything. And we haven't really seen anything with this, and that's good news over the past 45 minutes to an hour as it's moved off towards the east. But these tornadoes can spin up quickly, and it doesn't take much, especially on a very humid day like this, to mix some of that wind to the ground. The cloud bases, if you watched as the storms have moved through the area today, or if you saw on Tower Cam 10 earlier on 320 when we were showing you that, the cloud bases were almost scraping the ground. So these clouds are very, very low to the ground, and on these very humid days, they're able to tap into what we call a low LCL, or a low cloud level, and sometimes bring this rotation down the surface a little bit easier. So Oak Grove is the area of most concern right now. Greystone Lane, Elbow Road, areas near the Centerville Turnpike, Volvo Parkway, Battlefield Boulevard is pretty much right over you as we speak, advancing up to the north and east. So that'll put it towards the Glenwood area, the Chesapeake Park area, the areas towards the St. Andrews condominiums, Greenbrier East, anywhere kind of in that vicinity. Stumpy Lake Country Club, Stumpy Lake Natural Area, City View Park in parts of Chesapeake, and eventually, this is likely to stay south of Regent University, but it's really the Greenbrier area where we have to watch for this storm to move through. Meteorologist Jeff Edmondson is watching this as well with us, not in the studio, but watching this at his house, and he reported in parts of Chesapeake some gusty winds, very intense rainfall. He's about 3 miles or so away from where this rotation actually is. So thankfully he's in a safe spot and no damage at his house as this storm pushed through. But for a lot of Chesapeake, this is a very heavily populated area and an area where a lot of people are getting these alerts on their phones and wondering what's going on. So we want to make sure you're informed as to what's happening here. If you are watching us, as I mentioned earlier, from Virginia Beach towards the Lansdowne area, the Mapleton area, even Kempsville. Kempsville, I think this will likely go to your south. I'm not as worried on the far northern area towards Indian River Park, Kempsville. I think we can pretty much say you're going to be in the clear for this, but it's the Glenwood area especially where we have to watch as this storm moves off towards the east, and eventually the Lansdowne area where that rotation is going to be continuing to move off towards the east and northeast. And as we've been on the air now for about 40 minutes or so, and we've been watching these storms as they've kind of moved over the swamp and rotated a little bit, weakened some of the rotation, strengthened back up. That's something that you will likely hear and see us show you because these storms cycle. They move through an area. Sometimes the rotation gets a little weaker. Sometimes it then gets a little bit stronger. And even though we're saying, hey, it's a little bit weaker right now, until this warning expires, until this red box clears off the screen, you want to make sure you stay weather aware and make sure you're seeking shelter, especially in the Glenwood area as this moves off towards the east. Meteorologist Steve Pandera joining me now here to talk a little bit about what he's seeing.
Yeah, just on the spot, right? I mean, where this area rotation is right now is this Butt Station right on the Kempsville or Kempsville Road here, and that, I mean, if you live near the Butcher right here, which is Central Meats, if you live right around the Garden Center, which is on the corner of Butt Station and Kempsville, Chesapeake City Park is right here as well. Get to that safe place. Now, as we move forward in time out towards towards Elbow Road here, and right ahead of Glenville. This is Stumpy Lake, so this starts to open up a little bit. And across Elbow Road, there's new developments, so there's a little bit open areas. And a situation like this, a thunderstorm like this, can tap into the fact that there's less friction down on the ground. There's less around, and it could see some further strengthening, and that could potentially be where it wants to go. So it could head south of the Acredale area. It'll likely head south of City View Park in Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. This is right around here, right on the Chesapeake City Park, or excuse me, the Chesapeake and Virginia Beach border, right around here. So it's likely going to head essentially on Volvo right towards the Butcher, which is Central Beach, which is right there on the there's the intersection there with the Harris Teeter as well. There's a Royal Farms gas station near there as well from Centerville that goes down. So it's that little corridor, and in between there could be some further strengthening, Ricky, because it kind of opens up a little bit. It gets out of some of the buildings that are down towards the Battlefield area and parts of the Greenbrier area. So a little bit of strengthening could be possible, as it likely heads more so on an easterly track here, which would put Glenwood coming up next on that area here. So, but again, if you're on the right along Kempsville here, again, I'm just going to use the Butcher as a reference there. If folks live down there, they know that's the best spot to get chicken wings. That's where Jeff, that's where we go all the time to get chicken or any sort of pork or sausage and stuff like that. So if you're in this area, Chesapeake City Park as well, now's the time to just take that shelter, get to that safe place down on the low end, and if you're along Elbow Road as well, because then that crosses up towards Centerville, and that's where likely the storm's going to head off and cross over that in what, 10 minutes or so, not even.
Yeah, we're gonna have to you're gonna have to invite me next time out to these great places you keep calling out.
We never work the same schedule.
I know,
Ricky,
you
and
can tell
I can never have you over for a barbecue or something.
Steve and
like
Jeff
that.
know the area, Chesapeake, very well. I'm from the peninsula. I know that area just a little bit better, and of course, meteorologist Don Slater has been here for many, many years and seems to know every little community and every neighborhood around the area. So,
okay, but let's go to Max 2. We'll kind of give you a broad overview, and then we'll come back on down to this area where we are seeing, again, a tornado warning for the city of Chesapeake. Let's go to Max 1, please, and we'll give an idea of what's going on with that, if we could, to our director. Here's a look at 3:30 this afternoon and some of the rainfall moving on into our Picture Tower Cam on a time-lapse basis. You can see between 3:30 and now, lots and lots of blinding rain. For most of us, here's what's going on in terms of the threat. The threat is damaging wind, flooding rain, and there's, of course, that threat of an isolated tornado. We do have one tornado out there. We're watching that, obviously, very, very carefully. One other thing to note out of all of this is that it is caused basically by a low-pressure area, a broader low-pressure area into here. You'll be able to see some spin moving on through the region. It's a broader area of low pressure, and that spin is setting in motion, again, the severe thunderstorms, which have caused some stronger thunderstorms, and the one tornado that we've got going on into southern Chesapeake, and again, central Chesapeake, really, and that warning is in effect now until 4:30 in the afternoon. We dive on in for a closer view. You can see some very, very big lightning action going on into extreme southern Chesapeake toward Northwest River Park, the Hickory area south of the municipal center, where we're seeing some action going on into here. But we move a little bit farther northward between Great Bridge and Fentress Field, and I'm going to switch over to give you an idea of what's going on in terms of velocity. And again, that's where we're seeing it between east of Great Bridge right now and on toward Fentress Field. That's where we're seeing the worst of it. We're seeing the green and the red meet on up. We'll give you a little bit different view of that. And there, we'll switch colors on you and give you an idea. So just north of Fentress Field, basically, Stumpy Lake area, lots of new developments on into here. And it's likely to move on into parts of Virginia Beach. So with that in mind, I'm going to storm track this for you on a broad area. Kempsville, I think you're going to be okay. Lansdowne, you need to be taking precautions right now because, again, Lansdowne, you are in the sights of this thing as it moves on. I'm going to move this over so it's out over the water and near Sandbridge. But again, we've got flash flood warning. Again, that one's been extended a bit, again, for the very heavy rainfall that we've seen. You can see toward the aquarium, being a tourista in town on the south end of Virginia Beach, south of 264. Again, it'll be around 10 to 5 when you start to see some real action into your area, or quarter to 5. 4:45, and it is what? It's 4:30 right now. So in the next 15 minutes, we're going to start to see some of these areas. 4:32 for the Sentara Princess Anne Hospital, Lansdowne. There's Nemo at 4:40. Dam Neck Corner at 4:45, a familiar area. 4:49 at Sandbridge. 4:51 at the Virginia Aquarium, and Rudy Heights at 4:53. So again, there could be some strong damaging winds out of all of this. And with everything that's going on, there's been a lot of lightning out of some of these areas, but you can especially see the lightning over the southern end of Chesapeake. That's where we have the biggest lightning right now, but some lightning going on right into the resort strip of Virginia Beach. We're not looking at as bad as far as seeing a lot of wind out of some of these areas. Let's have a look at what's going on in terms of watching. We're seeing some wind, but it does, and there could be some there's rotation headed into Lansdowne on that area. Doesn't look quite as bad as what we had earlier. So is that warning been discontinued?
Yeah,
warning?
they did.
Yep.
They extended it to a severe thunderstorm warning.
There we go. It's just popping up, and that's until what? I'm assuming
5:15.
5:15.
And we also have that flash flood warning that's going up for the northern parts of Virginia Beach that has been issued. We have the one in Norfolk and Portsmouth, and Ricky's got some of the cams up from I believe is that 64 or 264. There's, I mean, if they're driving around, there's been some folks have been caught in some water and caused some issues in downtown Norfolk.
This is the Ballantine area, and as we were talking earlier, if you can just stick around for 30 more minutes at work and let these storms pass, it's probably a good idea, because we look at the VDOT maps, we look at some of the issues going on. There are traffic snarls and crashes, and Stephanie Hudson was talking about how some people have been stuck in floodwaters across parts of Norfolk, and as the Weather Service has issued this new flash flood warning now for a large part of Virginia Beach, it's these areas that we've seen 1, 2, 3 inches of rain, especially across Norfolk. It doesn't even take that sometimes to cause flooding, and we've had such heavy amounts of rain over the past about week to week and a half in some areas, 2.5 inches, almost 3 inches of rain right over downtown Norfolk. That'll cause some problems. So that it doesn't take much to cause issues around our area. And when we get 3 inches of rain in about an hour, that's going to cause some problems across our roadway. So if you can just stick around, for another 30, 40 minutes or so, let some of this rain pass, let some of the traffic maybe lighten up a little bit. You can see the rain has now moved out of downtown Norfolk and downtown Portsmouth, so we're doing better. It's Virginia Beach and the eastern side of Chesapeake where all this heavy rain is coming down. And some of these rainfall rates are impressive too. I'll turn that on, and you'll notice anywhere we have these pink colors showing up, that's a rainfall rate of over 3 inches per hour. Now, if the storm were to sit there for an hour, that's how much rain you would get. You're probably going to not see exactly that much, but the fact of the matter is that rain's coming down at an incredibly heavy rate. You just don't see anything out your windshield. It's not a fun drive. So don't travel on 264 for the next 30 minutes or so if you can. Just hang out towards the ocean front, hang out towards your office in Virginia Beach, your house in Virginia Beach. Give it 30 minutes, 45 minutes to pass, then you'll be good. Weather-wise, travel. Can't promise traffic. That's probably not going to be fun, but at least weather-wise, you'll be doing a little better with the heavy rain lightening up across those areas. So we've got this big severe thunderstorm warning now, guys, that's been issued here for Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. I think very soon we can probably give a lot of Chesapeake an all clear. It's really the far southern side of Chesapeake where we still have some winds going on here towards the Hickory area, towards Northwest River Park, eventually moving into the Blackwater area, Virginia Beach, and then this other area towards Lansdowne, which is where we were watching the rotation earlier. Now it's
still some rotation.
There's still some, I believe, Don, but I think maybe we're transitioning more to like a wind threat or a downburst threat with this, which a lot of people focus on the tornado threat, but these microbursts, they can be just as damaging as they push across the area, and they can sometimes bring these strong gusty winds. I mean, what a microburst is, what happens is there's dry air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, so the air cools down in the thunderstorm. As it cools, it gets a little denser, it gets heavier, the storm no longer can sustain it anymore, and it comes crashing down to the surface and then spreads out as it does so. Think of it like a water balloon. That's my favorite comparison. Think of a water balloon, you drop it on the ground, the water spreads out in a circle. Same kind of thing with these microbursts from a thunderstorm, and you can get these strong gusty winds sometimes in a bigger area than what a tornado would do. So when we issue these severe thunderstorm warnings, when we're talking about these severe thunderstorm warnings, you still want to take those seriously. Even though they're not tornado warnings, they can still cause some significant problems as these strong gusty winds occur in these thunderstorms. And in terms of the flooding risk, kind of just give you some numbers here. It doesn't take a whole lot of water to cause problems either. 6 inches of fast-moving water. Most of the time around here, we don't have fast-moving water because our land's flat, but 6 inches of water can cause some issues with an adult. 12 inches of water can cause some issues with cars. And a lot of times, our water just has so much stuff in it, debris, chemicals, pet waste. It's just not fun to be in. Don't let your kids play in floodwaters. I know that we've seen plenty of videos over the years. Don't let them play in floodwaters. It's not safe water to be in. It's just nasty water overall. As these storms also push across the area, we encourage you, if you can do so safely, to send us some pictures. You can email them to reportit@wavy.com. You can tag us on Twitter. A couple things we ask. First off, include your name so we can give you credit, a brief description of kind of where it is or what you believe it is, and then the location. That way it allows us to kind of sometimes go back and look at the radar and be like, oh, that's what the radar looked like at the time this picture was taken, and those reports can significantly help us tell the weather story and, of course, alert people ahead as these storms push through. So as we continue here at 4:35, the tornado warning has been dropped, but we continue to watch the severe thunderstorm warning across the portions of Virginia Beach, basically from 264 area south towards Lansdowne, towards Oceana, towards Sandbridge. You're in line for this area of thunderstorm activity as it moves off towards the east. In terms of lightning, we'll turn that on and see how many lightning strikes we're indicating with this. And we had a
Ricky, there's a lot out there. That's
Yeah.
we were listing off some of the threats with the thunderstorm. We wanted to denote that even if you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning and you got a lot of lightning, look up towards the eastern shore as well. If we zoom out the picture, there is so much lightning moving offshore, and one bolt of lightning is over 5 times hotter than the temperature of the surface of the sun, so it could also produce damage. Also, further down to the south, Ricky, there's one thunderstorm over the Albemarle Sound, which has been producing copious amounts of lightning, not in our viewing area. Been looking to see if there's been some sort of rotation with it, and it could get some sort of rotation since it's over the Sound. It's been so humid in North Carolina today. Dew points have been close to 80 degrees, which is just so buoyant, so to speak. The air can lift so easily. So heads up for those in Kill Devil Hills down towards Nags Head. There's just there's one thunderstorm on the way, but Southern Shores, Kill Devil Hills, Manio, the Outer Banks. I mean, you've been enjoying a nice beach day down there, but in a little bit, I mean, not in a few minutes, but maybe 20, 30, 45 minutes, thunderstorm's going to be rolling in. It could pack a punch here, and it could pick up some steam as it heads over the Sound and is over the water.
Yeah,
Certainly with lightning.
Kill Devil Hills area about 521 for the estimated storm track on this. Manio 524 and Nags Head around 530 as this area to the west over the Albemarle starts to push off towards the east and eventually makes its way. You'll probably see it coming, the darker skies in the distance, although today's kind of a hazy day. It's kind of hard to see some of these storms as they're pushing across the area, but you're likely going to see some of the heavy rain and gusty winds with this storm as it pushes into your area. Still watching a couple areas here in Virginia Beach. There's one area towards Chesapeake. The rotation, there's a little bit, but it's really lessened up, I think, from what we had earlier, which is great news there. No reports of any tornado touchdown that we've heard of in Chesapeake or Suffolk with this. If you do have any damage reports, send them over to us, reportit@wavy.com. We'll check it out and see what may have happened down there, and our news crew is doing the same, seeing if there's any type of damage in that area. But as of right now, have not heard of any issues. It's really just this heavy rain that's coming down now across Virginia Beach that's causing problems and causing some potential flooding in the area. I'm going to see if we can load up our camera at the Lesnar Bridge, and it may take a second for it to come in, but there's the view from the northern side of the city of Virginia Beach towards Shore Drive. Here's Shore Drive as it runs across the Lynnhaven Inlet area, and you can see no one out on the beach, which is great news right now as heavy rain and lightning pushes through, but obviously bad visibility as that heavy rain comes down across the area. We'll switch over as well to the camera located here at the ocean front, or excuse me, let's go towards our town center camera first, then we'll try to jump down towards the ocean front. This is the town center area of Virginia Beach. You can see some of the lower hanging clouds here. Not as much heavy rain right now in the town center area, but certainly you've seen some rain. You're going to see a little bit more as this shower and storm area pushes through. And then let's see if we can pop up, find the right camera here. Our camera located down towards 5th Street at the boardwalk. This is towards areas towards Rudy Inlet. This is the waterman's camera. You can see, thankfully, no one on the beach as the storm pushes across the area, and as the heavy rain falls, you'll be able to get out in a little bit, but for about the next 30 minutes to an hour, good idea to stay inside as the storm pushes through. They have a nice lightning show, too, after the storms push off the coast and make their way into the Atlantic Ocean. So as we kind of reset everything here, 4:38, we'll keep an eye on these storms in Virginia Beach and monitor them as they push across the area. Still seeing some gusty winds. We'll see how strong the radar is indicating these winds to be. It's picking up around 20 to 30 miles per hour, but with these microbursts, remember, radar is an instantaneous moment in time. As that radar beam you just saw it sweep around goes out, these microbursts can occur sometimes quickly in between the minute or 2 or 3 minutes that it takes for us to get a little bit more data in here with these radar loops. So that's what we have to watch for to see if they want to if we're detecting any areas of wind sometimes still on this storm as they push across the region. So we'll switch back over to our reflectivity product, talk about the heavy rain, and once again recap that we have flash flood warnings in effect for parts of Norfolk and Virginia Beach. That's going to be a concern for the next couple of hours, all the way till 7:30. Some of the water may kind of go down before that, but a lot of those areas where we sometimes see flooding in these urban areas, these low-lying roads, places like that, we're likely going to see some flooding as these thunderstorms push through and have pushed through parts of Norfolk, producing 2 to 3 inches of rain over the last little bit of time as they've advanced across the area. So we will continue to watch these storms, especially as they make their way into the area. We'll keep an eye on some of the winds with these storms as they push across the region as well, and also keep an eye on the lightning. That's probably the biggest concern, just the heavy rain and lightning, and the problems that we're seeing on the roads in terms of some of the problems that are being caused by this heavy rain as it falls down. This is towards the Ballantyne area. Once again, you can see this poor folk here in their car crash reported there. That's not what we want to have happen to you. Just stick around for a little bit, especially in Virginia Beach. Give the weather a little bit of time to clear, and we'll keep you updated on the storms as they continue to push across the region. That tornado watch remains in effect until 7 p.m., but for the most part, we are seeing less storms across the metro. I do note out towards the west, though, we're seeing a little bit more development along the 95 corridor, so we'll have to watch that over the next hour to 2 hours as these storms advance towards the east. Hopefully, our atmosphere has been kind of worked over a little bit, and we're not going to see as much action as this does push off towards the east. But Northampton County, heads up, this is moving your direction towards the Weldon area. And this is kind of the area further south and west towards Rocky Mount, where we had some very strong severe weather earlier. The Weather Service in Raleigh confirming an EF2 tornado towards parts of Nash County, North Carolina, a little bit earlier today. So we'll have updates on that, and we'll have updates on more of the storms as they push across our area here as we continue with WAVY News 10 at 4. Meteorologist Don Slater will join me in just a minute, and we'll talk about the potential for more showers and storms as we go through the evening hours. A couple things to keep in mind: those flash flood warnings for Norfolk and Virginia Beach, that severe thunderstorm warning for Virginia Beach. If you're watching us from the ocean front, that storm, you probably can't see too much of it right now, but heads up, it's heading your direction. Potentially some gusty winds up towards of around 50 to 60 miles per hour, especially from parts of 27th Street south towards the 1st Street and the Sandbridge area as these storms push through. We'll join you now in just a minute with WAVY News 10 at 4.